Good morning, everybody. We are in the shop for another little wood shop project. Raining like a bugger outside, so nothing we can do out there. First thing I'm going to do is clean up this shop, and I'll show you what we got going on. All right, so I dug this pile of wood out from the little storage area I have over there. This, believe it or not, is an old pallet that I got down at the wood flooring distributorship years ago. It was all made out of Purple Heart rosewood, the whole pallet. These were the slats underneath. You can see they have the grooves where the banding was. And it was probably a bunch of feature strip or something they got in from somewhere at one point. And this was in the garbage, so I took it. And I have all the slats to it also. I've made a few projects in the past out of this. And today I'm gonna make, I think I'm gonna make some cutting boards out of this. A lot of guys make them on YouTube. I've seen them. And one of the things I've been thinking about, but look at that wood. You know, I've got to let this stuff dry out a little bit. It's wet just from carrying it over here from my storage room. And I'm wet too. I'm probably going to go change my shirt before I get busy doing this. But look at that. That is like some solid, you know, almost 8/4 Purple Heart rosewood. I'm going to mill that down. And there's enough here to make, I'm thinking, 3 nice cutting boards. It's going to be Purple Heart rosewood and maple is kind of my plan. So I'm going to dry that stuff off, go clean up myself, and start milling this wood. Pick these up down the distributor. They were on a pallet of discounted wood. They sold them for 10 bucks a piece. That's a lot of wood. I bought about 20 of them. Okay, let's start milling these into some usable pieces. Okay, so we have them all milled down to thickness right now and milled into nice strips that are all easily glued together. So now I am going to mill this maple, and it's going to be edge grain. I know most people make their cutting boards on edge grain, but this stuff is so dense. I'm going to go with flat grain. That way I can utilize more space. Plus it's still going to be 1.25 inches thick. All right, mill the maple. Okay, so the finished product here, by the time I put my 1 inch on the outside edge, which will probably be maple or Purple Heart, whatever I like, probably maple because it has a lot of Purple Heart in it, we're going to end up with a finished product of about 13 by 17, which is a nice size cutting board. You know, you could lay any nice center cut on that or any stakes you wanted to sit on there to rest. And then I'll do my groove. My drip groove or my bloodline will be right along those edges there. So I'm going to cut these all down into the small pieces now and glue them together as small chunks because they will glue easier like that. So there are numerous ways I could do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it right here on my table saw with a stop on it. That could have ended up firewood. Instead, it's going to be something pretty cool. Now we can lay these things out and see what we're really going to end up with. There you have it. So then I got my choice of doing either a purple heart on the end, or I can do the maple on the ends. And you know what? I think it's going to be maple. I think that looks pretty cool with the maple. So that's my cutting boards. And I end up with just about yeah, 17 by 13. A little less than 13. So I'm going to have enough here to make 4 cutting boards out of a bunch of scrap wood. Okay, so here they are all laid out, and this is all the wood that I have left over of the scraps from that, except for, you know, my off-fall there. So there's my 4 cutting boards laid out the way I'm going to glue them up. That's where I'm going to stop today. So on the ends here, I may put a piece of this Wangay, which is a completely different, very black looking wood. I may use that on the ends. I have a few choices on that. Debating on that. But they're looking pretty cool so far. I'm going to glue these up. Well, I am ready to glue these blanks up, so I am going to just lay these over like that. Actually, I can't do them all the same. I'm going to have to... I'm just going to brush these out. I'm using Type Bond 3. That's what everybody seems to be using for this waterproof stuff. I just have a brush here that I cut the bristles off of. I'm going to put heavy glue on there. Heavy glue on one side. A little bit lighter glue on the other side. Yeah, there's more efficient ways to do this. Good coverage. Okay, I'm going to line up all those butts so I don't have to trim very much off. Okay, little different method this time. Try some bigger bar clamps to start out. Those little clamps just don't quite do the work of a real bar clamp. little in the middle. There it is. Okay, so there they are, all glued up, ready for the next step. I'm gonna find something cool to put on the edges of those. I might use that wangay that I was showing over there. Anyway, that's it for today. We'll get back on this after the glue dries. Playtime is over. Time to go to work. Okay, let's pull these clamps and see what we come up with. Make the ends for them. I think that's going to make a pretty nice cutting board, pretty straight. I'm going to make some nice ends. We decided we're going to use that nice black wingay on there. So there are my 4 blanks. I am going to clamp these to the bench, scrape some of the glue off. I don't have a wide belt sander or a planer that will actually fit these, so I am going to be hand sanding them with my orbital sander. I guess they do fit into these little bench clamps I have here. I gotta tell you, that took a lot of work. You know, to make these in any kind of a production, you need a wide belt sander and a bigger planer than what I got. But I'm only making 4 of them. You know, hats off to the guys that make these in their little small shops and try to make a living at it. I'm gonna clean up my mess. You can see I made a mess, but they're all nice and smooth and really flat now. There they are. And I gotta say, they look pretty damn good. So we're gonna move on to putting the edges on. All right, let's cut the ends off of this thing. Well, I want to use this wangay here. This will be the most expensive part of the whole thing, is this piece of wangay that I have. But, you know, I need 8 pieces. If I could get 4 out of that, it would be great. But, you know, I'm not going to be able to do it because of the width of the saw blade. So I'm going to have to actually take 3 chunks off of this, which is going to eat up half of this board to make the ends for that. Plenty of glue. Wow, kind of the shape of things to come right there. Okay, while this glue is drying, I am going to make the router jig to put the juice groove or blood moat, whatever you want to call it, on there. So mine's going to be very simple. I need two 12-inch pieces and two 16-inch pieces. I'm going to take some of this scrap plywood I have over here, and I'm basically just going to screw it together in an L shape, two pieces, screw it down to this piece of plywood here so they set down inside, and I will make a router jig. Okay, so when I measure this, my groove is a 1/2 inch wide. So, and I know my router base here, it's 2 3/4 to the edge of my router, to the edge of that plunge bit. So 2 3/4, that's right where my bit is. If I make them 2 inches, that's where my bit ends up. So right there, and up here, it touches the wangay a little bit and comes down to about there. So that's where I want it. That's what I'm gonna make it. Okay, so here's how the jig will basically work. These pieces just removable, you just screw them down. These pieces will go on here like that. That's what the router will ride against. And I'll just screw them around the perimeter and plunge bit and router it in there. So that's how that works. I should be able to screw those down where I need them, set my cutting board right in the middle there, and run my router right along that edge. Okay, so if I have this thing set up correctly now, I should be in just about 3/4 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch. This is a little test I'm gonna do on this. These two boards here represent the other stops, which will be in when I do the whole thing, but I'm just doing a little test on this board now to see if my jig works up. This whole thing took about 15 minutes to make. So there you can see my little moat. That's pretty smooth. I'll have to do a little hand sanding. It's burning a little in the corner there. But by the time I get done with it, I should be able to lift that right out of there, see? So that is gonna be my moat for this thing, and I'll double check and make sure it's what I want on the actual cutting board, but that worked pretty good. That's gonna be my router jig. You know, I use this different plywood here because it's much smoother than this 3/4 I have, because every little wobble in that plywood will transfer on that router. So it's gonna work. we'll do that as soon as those things are dry, probably tomorrow. All right, let's pull these out of the clamps and start cleaning up that wing gate. Those are some pretty solid blocks of wood right there. Okay, first step, I'm gonna cut off these little ends here before I sand and trim these smooth. Leave them a hair long. Okay, I'm just going to take this flush trim bit with a bearing on it and see if I can trim that off. That's near perfection right there. I'm gonna go ahead and do all 4 of these like that. Okay, so let's sand these edges here where I cut this wangay off. I left them a little proud, so we're just gonna sand those, nip those edges nice and straight there. That way they fit into the router jig over there real nice. Okay, so I sanded the edges, I routed this. Now I'm just gonna sand this nice and perfect. Starting off with 120 grit. I've already 80'd these whole things. Now I'm gonna sand them with 120. Okay, so the time has come to try out this little router jig I made, which is just a disposable thing. It took me about 15 minutes to make last night. So, if my calculations are right, we set our block in there like that. And we should be able to set our other guides up right along the outside edges of that. Like that. And like that. I'll screw those down, and that should be what we're going to route. And there you have it. That worked out beautiful. Okay, next one. I think I got it rigged up the way I want it. Okay, so I have my stop blocks. I have my router set where I want it. I have this set in the center of the block here, the cutting board. I have my stop block, so I end up with a 3.5 inch handle. So my plan here is to just come down on top of this, probably a little bit of an angle like that. Push it down. My push stick's gonna help me hold it against the fence so it doesn't wobble. Get it all the way down, move it over to that stop block and pick it up, and I should have it. Let's just see if this is gonna work. Okay, the next step is going to be to put a little radius on these corners, sand that, and then bullnose them with an 1/8 inch bullnose. It's kind of the plan. Okay, here we go. Okay, I am ready to start putting some finish on these cutting boards here. Rubber gloves. I got some plastic taped down to my bench here because I don't want to make a big mess. I'm using Howard's Butcher Block Conditioner. Never used this product before, but it's food grade mineral oil with natural waxes. Should be pretty good stuff. So let's just set that down there like that. And put a big glob on there. Start rubbing that schmoo in. Here I have a nice old sock, a clean one of course. Let's just rub, oh my God, look at that. Would you look at that? It always amazes me when you start putting that oil and that wax on wood, just how beautiful they turn out. Look at that Wenge, look at the pop. That is beautiful. Look at that, man. I'm gonna go ahead and put a nice heavy coat on all 4 of these. Let it soak in, come out and wipe it off, and then do another one. Wow, look at those nice handles. These things are gonna look pretty damn good. Last couple of little final wipes here. Well, that's about the end of this video, folks. You watched it all the way through. That's an old Purple Heart rosewood pallet that I found many years ago. I remember the day. I saw it by the dumpster out by the distributor where I buy my hardwood flooring. And I had to go to work. I went to work all day and I drove by there on the way home to see if it was still there. It was there, so I threw it in the back of my van, took it apart, and I've been storing it all these years and just made 4 nice butcher blocks out of it. Okay, catch you in the next one.